y'all doing this morning? Good, good, good. I'm glad that you're here today. We're in the middle of our celebration Sundays, and it's such a great time for you to be here and with us. I'm really excited about what Pastor Brendan's saying in the community groups. I've heard other churches say it, and I really agree. If you just do one thing at Capital, do groups. Like, find your community and share life with others. I've been in so many great small groups over the years. I think back to one that I was in Florida. My wife and I were leading a group, and we were looking around for who to invite, and we invited this young couple named, their names were Andreas and Sarah. And at the time, they were just on the fringe of church. We hardly ever saw them. They maybe came one every 6 weeks or something like that. And as they tell the story, they were really at a point where they had given up on church, and they were really kind of just giving up on faith altogether. And they had some bad past experiences in the church. And they were they were hugely successful professionally and making friends outside of the church. And so their lives were just kind of moving in a different direction. But we didn't know if they'd come or not, but we just invited them. We said, well, let's give it a shot. Let's invite them. And long story short, they not only came to the group, but they dove into the church, and they became lifelong friends. We moved to New York 12 years ago. They moved along with us, and they served for 10 years here at Capital. And right now, they're both serving with World Challenge Missions Organization in Colorado. As a matter of fact, Andreas, right now as we speak, is in Serbia, and he is training the pastors in Central Europe how to make an impact in that region. So my point is that sharing life can be life-changing. And so I encourage you to look into that and to lean into that. It's good stuff. I'm going to be talking about the power of sharing what's good and sharing life today. And not to say do groups. That's not the takeaway necessarily. I do want you to do groups. But what I'm really talking about is the habit, developing a habit of sharing life in a way that is life-changing. Because, small groups can be just like a Sunday. It can be something that we do, an event that we do kind of out of routine, and it doesn't necessarily have that formational impact on us. So I want to talk about, like, when you are in a group, or when you're outside of a group, you're at work, or you're at home, or you're with friends, you're at school, you're in your neighborhood. How do we share life in a way that's life-changing? And I think that, for the most part, This is something that we all want, right? I mean, like we all know that we should share life with others, and we kind of all really want that. I don't think that's necessarily the issue. I think that a lot of times the issue is that we just really don't know how to do that and how to do that well. And so today I want to talk about that, and I'm not going to tell you why you should be a part of, why you should share life with others. Really, I want to talk about how you can. So that's what we're going to do today. Before I get into that, I do want to just say well done to everyone here in this room. You gave God day one, and I really believe that when you give God day one, you invite him to lead you the rest of the week. And so well done with that. I also want to take a minute just to say hello to everyone who's watching online. And so I know that not everyone can get here physically, and so we're glad that you are able to join us and be here today. Our building is located in Colony, but our mission is to make Jesus famous throughout the Capital Region and around the world. So whether you're watching on our online campus or on the app or on the Facebook, welcome. Would you just join me in welcoming those who are watching online today? Okay, you could take out your message sheets that's in the weekly, and that's just something I put together for you to be able to kind of follow along with the talk and have something to take away. Today we are in the middle of Celebration Sundays, and we've been celebrating all throughout the month of September. We're celebrating what's good, and we're celebrating what's good, and we're celebrating with stuff that's good. And today, you maybe see it. You might have seen it as you came in. We've got all kinds of lawn games and board games set up, and that's out there because we're giving ourselves the opportunity to share a little bit of life together and play games. with one another. And, there's something powerful about playing games together. I can say that some of my best friends became my friends because before I ever knew them, we competed in some way, either with each other or against each other. There's something about playing games. And I mean, sociologists and scientists will tell you the same things. Kids get it, right, without having to be told it. Adults forget it, don't we, right? But you don't grow old because you stop playing. Nope, yep. You don't stop playing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop playing. So what we want to do is we want to kind of give you some age reversal opportunity and get out there and play some. Are you with me here? Yeah. All right. So anyway, that's out there. And we got bounce houses for the kids, and we got Cokes and waters and snacks, and it's all free, and it's all good, and it's all fun out there. So give yourself a gift today. Spend 30 minutes after service and just meet some people and play some games and have some fun. In the Old Testament book of Deuteronomy, it says this: celebrate all the good things that God, your God, has given to you and to your family. We recognize that there's just so much bad and negativity and conflict in the world, and let alone all of the reasons that we legitimately have in ourselves to be worried or to be sad or to be angry. And so what we want to do is we want to flip the script, and we're taking time to celebrate what's good. And it's not just about taking 4 weeks, not just celebrating for 4 weeks. What we really want to do is we want to become people who celebrate what's good in our lives all the time. Because you see, it's the people who celebrate what's good, they're the ones who bring good into their world, into their neighborhoods, into their homes, into where they work, and into to school. And so that's what we're looking at that, and that's what we're focusing on over these 4 weeks. And so we said week 1, we talked about, all right, what does it look like to celebrate what's good? And we said the first thing you got to do is this. You got to think what's good, because celebration starts in the mind. And in the New Testament, it tells us to do this. It says this. It says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true and noble and right and pure and lovely and admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, and we talk about that means just like Jesus, then think about such things. Set your mind there, because we recognize that what I dwell on will become the world I dwell in. What I dwell on will become the world I dwell in. Because really, everything that comes out, our words and our actions, they're just presentations of what's on the inside of us. And so if I'm dwelling on what's bad and what's negative and what's hateful, well, that's the world that I'm going to create around me. But if I'm dwelling on what's good and what's beautiful and what's true, then not only is that going to lift me up, but it's going to enable me to be life-giving to others. And so that was week 1. And then last week, we said, you can't just think what's good. We also got to do what's good. And we recognize that celebrating what's good has a lot to do with how we respond to what's not good. And we looked at this moment where God is speaking to this guy named Joshua, who is really up against some not good. And he says this to Joshua. He says, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And the messages to us is also the same. It's like, hey, God's saying, look, I'm not going to call you into something that I'm not going to also enable you to accomplish, right? Like trust me, you were made for this. I am with you. Let's go. And we recognize that when we're faced with what's not good, that I will make a difference when I respond to what's bad by doing what's good. And so now we bring today to the third way that we celebrate what's good, think what's good, do what's good, and then thirdly, share what's good. You with me? So here's what the Bible says about it. It says, 2 are better than 1. There was, in really the height of Israel's history, there was a king named Solomon. And Solomon was considered, just kind of widely considered to be the wisest man who's ever stepped foot on the planet. He didn't have a Twitter account. And so other leaders had to travel across the world to come and to sit and to listen to his words. And we have preserved for us a lot of Solomon's wisdom in the Old Testament. One of the books that is kind of traditionally widely credited to Solomon is the book of Ecclesiastes. And what Solomon says about sharing life is kind of like this iconic message about sharing life and why sharing life is so important to us. And what's so powerful about that is the context that it's in. Because the book of Ecclesiastes is kind of a real downer. The book of Ecclesiastes is Solomon's observation of how we as humans, generally everything we go after turns out to be a meaningless pursuit. But he identifies that this is different. He says, but you know, but this pursuit, here's what's worth going after, sharing life. And he said it this way. He said, two are better than one. And he gives some reasons. He says, because they have a good return for their labor. In other words, like your effort is multiplied when you are sharing life with others. So whether that's like effort, like I'm trying to do a project, or that's like, you know, I'm the project, right? Like life change. Like we just, that effort is multiplied when we do that with others. He says, if one of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity the fool. No, pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. In other words, when you are sharing life, you can get back on track faster. You know what I mean? Like you can find rescue for your wandering. How many know that we're so prone to wander, right? I mean, we're prone to fall. Like that's just in us. And when we do that on our own, that journey back is twice as hard. That journey back is twice as long. When we're sharing life, there's someone to pick us up and pull us back on track. He goes on, he says this. He says, also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. How many know that there's just some seasons of life that are harsh? They're just cold, right? There's just some seasons of life that we feel very alone. In those harshest seasons of our life, when there's someone along with us, there brings that comfort, there brings that warmth to enable us to carry on. He says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. Because sometimes life just comes at us, and there are things from without, right, that come at us. There's things that within, temptation and guilt and all kinds of thoughts. Sometimes just people that come at us. And when we're alone, there's just so much strength we can have. But when we're sharing life with others, we can find strength for life's greatest struggles. And then he ends up this way. He says this. He says, an cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. In other words, 2 is better than 1, but 3 is even better than that. 3 is best of all. Community is best of all. And so that's kind of the why. I said I don't want to spend a lot of time on why we need to share life, because I think it's intuitive. I think we know that that's true. I think we know that life is harder on our own. I think we know that life is better when it's shared. And so the issue then becomes the tension still remains, because it's still hard to make those steps to dive into those relationships. And maybe it's because of insecurity, maybe because we're pretty happy with the mask we're wearing and we don't really want to take that off so much. Maybe because we don't want to deal with other people taking their mask off. We kind of like everything kind of like that. Maybe it's also because we really don't know how to do that. We don't know how to get started in that sharing of life, and we don't know really where to look for it or what it looks like. So I want to talk mainly today about how you can share life in a way that is life-changing. 3 ways to develop a habit of sharing what's good with others. So 3 things. Number 1 is this: ask up. In other words, celebrate those in your life who have a higher level of experience than you. Celebrate those in your life who have a higher level of experience than you. The Gospel of Luke tells us this interesting story about Jesus when he was 12 years old. His parents take him to Jerusalem. And you know why they went to Jerusalem? Why they took him to Jerusalem? Because the babysitter fell through. And so they had to bring him along. And no, just kidding. So they go to Jerusalem, and actually it would have been good if they had a babysitter or a nanny or maybe a GPS system, because when they leave Jerusalem, they left them behind, right? And a whole day passes. This is in the Bible. A whole day passes before they even notice that their son is missing. Now, you parents are thinking, right? Well, let's be honest. How many of you spend a whole day without thinking about Jesus? Got you. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, in all seriousness, they would have been traveling with a caravan. It would not have been unusual at all that they would have that Jesus would have been with relatives or friends. And so anyway, a day goes on and they don't notice that he's missing. And so then when they do, they double back and they head back to Jerusalem and they go looking for him. And here's what we read. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. See, Jesus is our model for what it looks like to be a learner. And we're talking about Jesus, right? It's so important as we read through the Gospels to recognize that Jesus is not only showing us who God really is, but he's also showing us who we've been created to be, what it looks like to be truly human. And so when we read this, we see Jesus teaching us, here's what it looks like to be a learner. Here's what it looks like to ask up in your life, to sit among those who know, to listen to them, and to ask questions. Celebrate those who have experience levels higher than you. I ask my dad all the time about stuff. I ask him for advice all the time, mostly about pastoring, but yeah, all that time. But it's not about age. It's about experience. Because when I need to get my bike fixed, I ask Jared Rossi. He's a teenager about what tool to use because he knows bikes. And so it's about asking up. So asking those, if your experience level is here, it's asking people whose experience level is here. Now you may think, like, yeah, this is not profound, big deal. Of course you want to ask somebody who knows. But let's be honest about it. When you come into those sticky situations, you come into those difficult decisions, how often do you ask people with the same level of experience as you? Because you're expecting them to agree with what you've already decided, right? It's a lot more difficult to say, you know what, maybe you know more than me. What would you do in this situation? And so that's the challenge of asking up. So when you do that, there are three questions you can ask yourself when you're searching for who to ask. One is this: who has been here? So like you find yourself in a situation. It's a new school. You got a new boyfriend or girlfriend. You got no boyfriend or girlfriend. You got you're in a college, you got a new career, you got, marriage, you're in marriage, you got a baby, you're buying a house, you're facing retirement, you got health issues, you lost a loved one. You know what your situation is. Whatever your situation is, ask yourself, who has been here? And seek that and seek them out and say, hey, what did you experience in this situation? What did you do? What did you find in this situation? The second thing is this. Ask this. Who has seen this? A number of years ago, I had to kind of navigate another church, not this church, it was another church, through kind of a really sticky pastoral transition. And it was crazy, and it was like nothing I had ever seen, and I was completely over my head. And I asked myself, I've never seen anything like this. Who has seen this? And I remembered I have an uncle who actually, his career was kind of like a conflict negotiator for churches. And so I called him up and I said, Uncle Ed, what do I do here? And he had seen this before, and I did exactly what he said to do because he had seen this before. So maybe you're in a situation and you've never seen anything like this. Find out somebody who has and ask them and just do what they say. Third thing you can ask is this: who has done well? When my kids reach teenager stage, I asked one of the elders in the church, hey, what did you do? Because I really like the way your kids turned out. And so you would look around and say, hey, who has done well at this? Let me ask them. I've developed this as an absolute habit right now. This verse just kind of resonates with me. It's Proverbs 15. It says this. It says, plans fail for the lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. This is just kind of like the way I live now. I don't make any decisions without asking somebody, hey, what do you think about this? Because I've found that this is true. But I'll tell you this, I wish that I had found that this was true when I was younger. If you're here in this room and you're younger than me, so it's about half of you here in this room, listen, I know that in our young stage, we're kind of like, we think like we don't need this, right? And it's not until we get older that we realize that, no, we do need the help of others who have experienced this before. But I just want to tell you, I'll speak from my own life. I wish that I got this right sooner. I want to encourage you to stand out from your generation, to move ahead of the pack, move ahead of the pack, your peers that are just kind of asking each other for their sage advice and making all of the same mistakes. Ask somebody who's been there. Ask somebody who's seen this. Ask somebody who's done this well, and you'll watch yourself move forward faster. When you ask up, you move up. Good? Number 2, share out. Celebrate the opportunity to share your experience with others. In every experience that you have, there's a lesson to be learned. Even the most tragic experiences that you have, there's a lesson of even greater value to be learned. Those lessons that you learn in your experiences are not meant just for you. They're meant to be distributed. I don't know if you know the story of Coke. I like Coke. Have you heard the share a Coke campaign? Who would like a Coke? I want to share a Coke. Who would like a Coke? Yeah, come on, get this. Come on, get this Coke. I'll share a Coke with you. So I don't know if you know about Coke. You got an opener? Okay. I don't know if you know about Coke, but so here's the story. In 1886, this guy, John Pemberton, he was a pharmacist, and he created Coke. And he created it, and he only sold it in his drugstore through a fountain. Like you'd only get it like in a glass, like at one of the soda fountains. And so that was kind of where Coke was. It's down in Atlanta. 15 years later, 1901, somebody comes to him and says, "Hey, you should put that in a bottle." And John Pemberton said, "No one's ever going to want to drink this out of a bottle." And so he said, "But if you want to do it, I'll sell you the rights to bottle and distribute Coke for $1. So the guy bought rights. He bought the rights to distribute and to bottle and distribute Coke for $1, and then of course began to sell that right on to other people to share. And to this day, actually, the distribution of Coke is not owned by Coke proper, but it is all franchised out. When John Pemberton, in 1886, when he that first year of developed Coke, he sold on average throughout the day an average of 9 servings of Coke per day in 1886. Today, there are 1.9 billion servings consumed worldwide, over 200 countries today, of all Coke products. My point is this. What if John Pemberton had said, "You know what, no, I'm not going to share. I'm just going to keep this here." What if you had to drive to Atlanta to drink it out of his soda fountain at his drugstore if you were ever going to taste what Coke is? You probably wouldn't know what Coke is. Now, we can take this illustration in a lot of different directions. We can talk about our responsibility as believers to share the message of Jesus. We can actually, it's really a good illustration for bumping up our live stream. Matt's he's excited about that. But it's also, I think, a really good illustration for what it means to be a follower of Jesus as a part of the church. Because see, if those experiences that you have, if you just keep them to yourself, you are limiting the potential spreading of that influence among the rest of the community. And it's not just your influence that you're limiting, because you think, well, what influence could I have? But you're also limiting the influence, God's influence, because of that work that he did in your life. So when we keep these things to ourselves, we don't share this goodness, this what's good, then we limit our influence, we limit God's influence, people discovering what he can do. So share out. Again, it's not about age, it's not about position, it's about experience. Look at, it says this in Job. It says, it's the spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty that gives them understanding. It's not only the old who are wise, not only the aged who understand what is right. So when I talk about share out, I'm not just talking about once you reach a certain point, a certain age, now share out. I'm saying as you experience life, as you encounter God, as you have moments where you feel like God is teaching you things, you're learning lessons, share that out. Here's three places you can look to share what's good, to share what God is showing you. Number one is this: start with proximity. There'll be people that God will bring into your life. And it'll just seem like accidental. It's a neighbor, maybe it's a coworker, maybe just someone that you meet. There'll be people who are just close to you. They're just near you in your life. Share your life with them. Share your experiences. Share your story with them. There's also a second level where you invest in partnerships. So there may be people that you are walking alongside, that you are, maybe you're working in a partnership where you're serving alongside. There's people in your lives that are close enough to walk, so you become a model. It's not just about what you say in that situation, it's also about what you do. And so they begin to learn what you do and begin to live like you. So invest in those partnerships. And then thirdly, you'll have people in your life who are even closer to that. They're already sharing life. Build into those relationships, those people that you are sharing life with. You see, at the first level, they'll learn what you know. At the second level, they'll maybe do what you do. But at this level, this is when you begin to influence people. They become to be like you are. So share your life. Share your time with those who are in your life. Share your successes. Don't fail to share your failures. Everything we experience is an opportunity. It's a lesson learned that we can share with others. We say this about your story, your life story. What has been life-shaping for you has the power to be life-changing for someone else. So share what you have learned. Thirdly, if we will do this, if we will ask up, and if we will share out, we will find ourselves connect together, and then we all get better. You know how we like show and tell, but we don't like sharing, right? Like as kids, we like show and tell. We don't like sharing time. That's because sharing time suggests we're going to lose something. Right, and so it's what game theorists call the zero-sum transaction, right? So if I have one bottle of Coke and I give that to someone else, now there's still one bottle of Coke, but he's got it and I got none, right? Sharing life is not like that. Sharing life is a positive sum transaction. When I'm sharing life, I walk into this relationship and I've had certain experiences and I've learned lessons and I have knowledge. And so in a sense, that's a certain level of power. There's power in where I've been and what I've seen and what I've done well. And so I have that. And when I share that with you, you gain from that. You gain from that lesson and I don't lose anything. In fact, I gain. I gained because I shared my story in a new way. I gained because I gained influence. I gained because I learned that lesson all over again. You see, when we share life, we share experiences. Now there's two people that have that knowledge. Now there's two people who have learned that lesson. And now the world there are more people in the world who have learned that lesson. That knowledge, that wisdom, that power has increased. In other words, you don't lose by asking. Sometimes we think, well, I'm going to lose if I ask. If you ask, you're going to get an answer. You're going to grow. So people think, well, I'm going to lose if I share this. But you're not going to lose if you share. You're going to gain. But really, none of that is the point. The point is this, that the world gains, the whole church gains when we connect together. Because you see, power is multiplied when people connect together. Knowledge grows when it's shared. Ministry expands when we share it, when we do it together. Because now there's another person who can do that too. When I was in my 20s, I used to play racquetball, and I was a long time ago. But I used to play with this other guy who was a little bit younger and more athletic but he wasn't very good, and so I destroyed him every single time I played him. And I was so much better than him that I just decided to start playing left-handed, and I still beat him left-handed. And so I was feeling really good about myself and my racquetball skills when one day I went to the court and I was waiting for him. He was late, and I looked down at the other side of the other courts, and there were these two old guys. When I say old, I am not exaggerating because I asked them after. One was 78, one was 82. Old guys. If you are at that age, I apologize. But that seems very old when you're 20, okay? And so anyway, there were two experienced gentlemen down at the other end, and they were struggling to get their shoes on because they couldn't sit down because the bench had flipped over, and they couldn't right the bench. It was like one of these weird super heavy ones that I don't know why they even still had around. But I went down and I got all swole, and I lifted up the bench and I set it for them because they couldn't do that. And they thanked me and they sat down, they put their shoes on, and I went back down to wait, and they said, hey, do you want to play with us? We're waiting for our third. Do you want to play with us? And I thought, yeah, sure, this should be a lot of fun. I'm going to probably kill you, literally. And they almost killed me, literally. It wasn't even close. We played cutthroat, and if you know racquetball, it's where 3 people around the court, and it was a humiliating experience. They didn't even move. Like, they just kind of sat in their positions, and I was running in this direction and running in that direction, slamming against this wall, falling over here. And they just wiped the floor with me, and like actually asked me, like, we're kind of like, all right, kind of trying to get rid of me. It was so bad. They weren't stronger than me, but they were smarter than me. You see, Jesus dreams of a church when there are those who are stronger, and they're relying on those who are smarter. And the stronger and the smarter are working together to accomplish what he has called us together to accomplish. And it's where I'm strong in one area and you're smart in another, and maybe I'm smart in one area and you're strong in another, and we're sharing our strengths and we're sharing our weaknesses and we're connecting together. Here's how Paul says it in Ephesians. He says, from him, Jesus, the whole body. The New Testament refers to the church as the body of Christ, because we're on earth to speak and to represent, to be the hands and the heart and the feet and the mouth of Christ. The whole body joined and held together, connected together by every supporting ligament. That's each one of us. It grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. That's the dream of the church, that we would ask up, that we would share out, that we would connect together, each part doing its work, so that all of us together would be built up to accomplish his purposes here on earth. Would you stand with me? I want to give 3 ways that you can immediately apply this. One is maybe you have not yet completed the Grow Plan. The Grow Plan is our on-ramp to being a part of the Dream Team. Each one doing its part, working together. What step 3, which is today, is all about it's all about discovering your gifts, your spiritual gifts, how God has wired you to make a difference. If maybe you don't know what your spiritual gift is, today is a great day for you to find out and take that class that happens at 12:30, right downstairs. The second thing you can do is you can go outside and you can play. Meet someone you don't know. There are going to be people out there with recognizable T-shirts on. They're not like holding the game; they're waiting for you. So go in, meet them, and play. There's cornhole. There's a ladder ball thing. There's a croquet, which I found out I'm not good at, but it's fun. There's all that out there. There's board games. Go out there and spend some time. Give yourself a half an hour to meet some people, to hang out, to play together. The third thing you can do is you can take those directories and you can decide this week which community group you're going to be a part of, how you're going to step into that experience of sharing life. So I encourage you to do one of those 3 things. I want to close with this. I want you to know every single week, and if you're here for the first time, I want you to hear this, that every single person in this room matters to God. God loves you. He created you to live a God-connected life, to know him, to live a life of flourishing and helping others do the same. And you know, we all have this tendency as humans to wander. We have this tendency to kind of put God aside and go our own way. The Bible calls that sin. And we can go back and forth and argue about what is sin and what isn't sin, but it would miss the point. The point is, if you've ever felt that disconnect from God, have you ever sensed that, man, my life is not on the path that I think it should be? Well, that's what the Bible's talking about. The bad news is that sin undealt with leads us in a trajectory away from God forever. The good news is that Jesus came to earth and gave his life in order to renew ours, so that we could be right with God, so that we could know God, so that we could become again who we were created to be and live the life we were created to live. And the invitation of the gospel is this. It's to put your faith, your trust in Jesus, to be who he said he is, and to invite him into your life. And if you'll do that, he promises your sins will be forgiven. He'll give you his Spirit to walk with you, to begin this new journey of life with God as you go forward. This morning, I want to give every person an opportunity. Maybe you would say, I was there and I'm not right with God now. Maybe you would say, I don't know that I've ever put my trust in Jesus. I've been just trying to be good. Maybe you've discovered you can't be good enough. And we need Jesus to rescue us, to heal us, and to become the leader of our lives. This morning, if you want to make the decision, I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to ask you to come forward. I would ask everyone if you bow your heads and close your eyes, because I want you to have the freedom just to respond in your seat. This morning, if you would say, I want to get right with God, and I'm ready to put my trust in Jesus to do that. Would you just raise your hand so I can see that? I want to pray with you. Yes. Say, I want to invite Jesus into my life. I need forgiveness. I need healing. Anyone else? You can put your hands down. I'm going to pray. And I ask if you raise your hand to pray with me. And if you're here this morning and you are a follower of Jesus, I ask that you'd pray with us as well, so no one has to pray alone today. Jesus, thank you. Thank you for your love for me. Thank you for giving your life to renew mine. I put my trust in you. I invite you into my life to be my Savior, my healer, and the leader of my life. Help me to follow you. I give my life to you.